Welcome everybody to the 6th round of the PCDC Managers League. We are here at the Detroit Street Circuit, and the two Ferraris have locked out the front row as we wait for the green light, and we are green now with a bit of a shoddy camera going into turn 1. I think both of the Ferraris made a decent start, but one of the Zach Speeds is right behind there trying to capitalize as they go down Atwater Street. And I think that's Jan Lammers challenging for a second there as he tries to go around the outside. Oh, and there's a collision. There's a collision between Googleman and Jan Lammers at the start of the race there. So let's see here. Martin Brundle up into 9th. He got a really good start. And let's actually see if Googleman can get underway. Yes, he does, but that's going to be detrimental as at Detroit here, there is... it's a really hard time to overtake here, but hopefully Googleman can recover. It's a long race. I think there was actually a bit of a collision there between maybe Lammers and John Nielsen as well, as we have lots of moves happening up and down the grid, as we have Michael Andretti in 10th with Bobby Rahal behind. Then comes Al Unser Jr. Just keep an eye here. I think everything is going single file so far, but with that collision now, it does mean that Emerson Fittipaldi has stretched out the lead already to 3 seconds. Big talking point, of course, was Emerson Fittipaldi qualifying 5/10 ahead, or about half a second ahead of his teammate Googleman. And that was the closest car to him, so Emerson Fittipaldi really feeling at home here in Detroit. And he puts the fastest lap in there as he heads into lap 2, of course. Then comes Jan Lammers in the Zach Speed, so the two Zach Speeds now in 2nd and 3rd because of that collision with Googleman early on. Ross Cheever also in P4. He's shown... last time around he has some serious pace, and well, he's up again fighting for those podium positions. Doesn't manage to quite hold on to the back of that second Zach Speed, I don't think, but he is holding off Ayrton Senna so far. And as we know, track position is king around Detroit, and we will I do think we'll see about 3 pit stops, so I think it's a 3-stop race just because of the abrasiveness of the track. So we'll see plenty of pit stops, and I think the first pit stop should already happen around lap 10. Obviously, cars being on a heavy fuel load as they head down Dakota Camera Corner, and then they'll come around turn 15 and head into the Goodyear Tunnel. And let's actually see... oh! And Googleman actually must have made a mistake somewhere, because he's now hit his front wing, so goes from terrible to even worse for the young Brazilian, and he will have to pit now early on in this race. So it'll be a very tough recovery race now for Maurizio Googleman and Ferrari. But his teammate Emerson Fittipaldi just streaking away behind. Pretty incredible the pace he's putting up right now. And, well, Emerson Fittipaldi has very much shown that he still belongs in F1 and proves it time and time again. John Nielsen and Jan Lammers are having some inter-team struggles, perhaps. Maybe that's why also Fittipaldi is able to create that gap. So Cheever's still leading that little train from 4th downwards. We have Ayrton Senna in 5th. Senna, of course, with that brilliant win last time around, the first win for Lotus this season, and finally managed to get that Lotus till the end of the race and score some decent points with it. And obviously get that first race win on the board. Alain Prost here. He also had a very good result last time around as Nelson Piquet tries something up the inside, but Prost tries to hold on as they're side by side. And Piquet actually with a brilliant move there, moving up into 6th. So Piquet is on a charge here today. as he immediately tries to streak away from that McLaren of Prost. So yeah, PK on a charge. Ayrton Senna still behind there. Roberto Moreno now closing in as well on Prost. So Prost actually forming a little bit of a train here. I'm not sure what's going on with Alain Prost, but he's not quite up to pace, as you can see there. It's all very closely matched here, as we see the massive train coming down to start-finish straight. Yannick Dalmas in 20th. Another driver really struggling here, Pierluigi Martini. For some reason, just really doesn't have the pace here today. Having quite a shocker. I'm not quite sure what's going on with him. Maybe he has made a couple of mistakes. Check his lap times. He is about quite a second off, but 7 tenths, 6 tenths, 7 tenths. So yeah, Pierluigi Martini really not up to pace here today. Not quite sure what's going on with him. Maurizio Gugelmin has made that first pit stop to change his wing and is now 20 seconds behind the nearest car, which is Pierluigi Martini. Now we have Lammers here, still chasing down his teammate John Nielsen in front, but hasn't quite found a way to get past. And like we said before, it's really tough here at Detroit to overtake, so I don't expect we'll see much on-track overtakes. It'll depend a lot on the pit stops and whether teams decide to undercut each other. So we see Nielsen now, the Danish driver. Of course, third in the standings, 1 point behind his teammate Lammers. And Jan Lammers 2 points behind Nelson Piquet, who's leading the Drivers' Championship. And we have seen Lotus, of course, shoot up to second in the Constructors, are now right behind Zach Speed with that result from last week. Double points, of course, for Lotus. Picking up 14 points in total, which is great, of course. Oh, Roberto Moreno! Roberto Moreno with a mistake. So he taps the barrier there. Luckily, comes away with, I think, not any damage, as there is more issues, I think. Ooh, Theo Fabi, I think. Yeah, it must have been a collision with Theo Fabi. So Theo Fabi out of the race for BMW, which is a shame. And, well, we do expect a lot of casualties during this race. We kind of know that Detroit is known for being a race of attrition. And in the meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi doesn't seem to be bothered by that. And my God, 6 laps in and he's already put nearly 10 seconds on everyone on the grid. So yeah, incredible pace from that Ferrari so far, and they must have definitely brought some upgrades to this round. But yeah, just looking spectacular right now. And let's hope Maurizio Gugelmin can also take advantage of that pace and work his way back into the race. As John Nielsen... So, oh, was that a little mistake? Maybe of Fittipaldi? I do think so. Didn't damage anything, so that's positive, but we know Detroit is a very demanding circuit, both for the cars and the drivers, as you think we've seen a change of position here, as Martin Brundle is defending from Roberto Moreno, and then we have the BMW of Bobby Rahal defending. Here comes Jeff Lees and Riccardo Patrese as they touch each other, and that's Jeff Lees into the barrier. I don't know if he'll be able to continue. It does look like it, but yeah, that's just a coming together there from those two drivers. And Jeff Lees down to 19th now. Meanwhile, his teammate having a lot more success here. Martin Brundle up in 9th again, so he's showing a lot of promise. in that Williams, and well, perhaps we'll see Brundle sticking with Williams for the next season if it keeps going in this upwards momentum for them. Let's not forget that Williams was dead last season and was very much struggling to even attach itself to the back of the midfield. So meanwhile, someone else that's struggling, Alain Prost, now in 7th place, has Nelson Piquet and Ross Cheever ahead of him, and in front of that is Ayrton Senna. But Prost, yeah, not having the best season so far. He's still I think 7th. He's also 7th in the Drivers' Championship, so picked up that podium position last time around, and he's definitely not out of the fight. I'm not gonna count him out, that's for sure. But yeah, that McLaren just doesn't look fast enough this year. It's really been struggling, and let's hope they can bring some much needed upgrades to the next rounds. But as we know, it's not all about bringing the fastest car. The reliability also a big factor, of course, and great at finishing the race. Yeah, Prost managing well. John Nielsen still in 2nd. I do want to keep an eye on those midfield battles, as Michael Andretti is in 8th for Tyrrell, so he's just inside those points. Tyrrell, of course, having that double DNF last time around in Canada. Now they will be looking to keep building on their results. They're dead in the middle right now, 6th place for them at the moment in the constructors, and have been picking up some consistent points, I'd say. You know, first round 6 points, second they didn't have any because they had a DNF. Third round 2 points, fourth round 7 points in total. So it's definitely looking pretty positive for Tyrrell, but they just need to string some rounds together, some results together to really separate themselves from that midfield, which is, as you can see, very close. See there, Brundle still in 9th. We have Roberto Moreno being chased down by Bobby Rahal, who has Al Unser Jr. behind him, the 2nd Tyrrell. Then comes Riccardo Patrese for Ligier, and then Mika Hakkinen and his teammate not too far behind. So Ligier is a bit of a question mark this season. Last time around, of course, very good results, very competitive car, but it seems on the development side they're not quite there this season. And of course we know that can all change in the blink of an eye after an upgrade round. But they haven't shown anything spectacular so far. I've picked up some points here and there, but nothing to shock the world, and it doesn't look like they're really in a position here today to pick up some points. 13th and 14th. The rookie JJ Leto also not doing too bad. Of course, pretty far behind his teammate, but we do expect that from some of our rookie drivers. And oh, and as we are watching him, he's gonna have an engine failure. There's smoke coming out of the back of that Benetton, and that is so unfortunate. So Leto won't be looking at any points here today, that is for sure. Last time around, of course, he was in a very, I think, a lofty P6 if I remember correctly. Or he was in the points at least, and then he dropped out with a mechanical issue as well. So that Benetton, even though it's getting up to pace, it seems that that Ilmor Haas engine is still having some issues, and let's hope Benetton can work those out, because it's gonna be very important towards the latter half of the season. Now we are on lap 10 of 63, and you can already see now that some of the pit calls are coming in here. So, like I said, we do expect three or so stops here today. So, I already see a lot of cars coming in, and Ayrton Senna electing for a pit on lap 10 as opposed to Jan Lammers in front of him, so he could possibly undercut Lammers, but it's very much gonna depend on the traffic. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Emerson Fittipaldi still electing to stay out, and let's see at the lap times. So yeah, the best time for Fittipaldi, 4/10 quicker than the Zach speeds. And his last lap time, 36.5, while the Zach speeds are doing 37.2s. 7/10 difference, so Fittipaldi is streaking away, and my god, the pace is something to behold, and that Ferrari is looking mighty. Meanwhile, another fight that is coming up, we have Maurizio Gugelmin. He's slowly making his way to the back of the field, which is Pierluigi Martini. As we have lots of cars coming in now, so lots of cars getting their big calls, and now Maurizio Gugelmin nearly up to the back of Pierluigi Martini. Let's follow him through here. That very quirky Kodak camera corner, and then through the Goodyear tunnel. Oh, and actually, Jan Lammers, I think, has he made his pit stop? I'm not sure. Oh yeah, but there we see him. Jan Lammers stopped on the track. Lammers not having any luck, and once again, he will retire. So I shouldn't say once again, because last time around he did score some points. He had that third place, but once again, issues for the Zach speed, and it's seems to be an ongoing issue. I'm not sure if they've worked on the reliability much, but yeah, just seems to be a recurring issue for the Zach speed. Is actually getting to the end of the race, so obviously a very positive thing for the Ferrari. And let's see here, actually, as Maurizio Gugelmin has now caught up. Mas has made his first pit stop. Question now being, of course, if Maurizio Gugelmin will pit again here, or if he will go longer now. Lots of cars into the pit. But as we can see now, that is the issue with pitting early. There's a lot of cars here coming out into traffic, so they might lose a heap of time compared to the cars in front of them. And we'll see here if Gugelmin manages to get past at some point. He's really struggling to get past Martini in front of him. More pits coming in. Satoru Nakajima getting called in for a pit stop. Down the start-finish straight. On the power is Maurizio Gugelmin. Can he do something into turn 1? I don't think the run is long enough there. I think the best opportunity is after turn 8, which is a bit further up. Is maybe gonna try something here. Shows his nose to Martini. Tries to go up the inside through turn 3. And we have a slight bend turn 4 into turn 5, which is a hairpin. And then obviously... Oh, bit of a mistake there. Mistake for Martini, which allows the pass to be made for Gugelmin, which makes it a lot easier for him. He's out in clear air. Fittipaldi has made his pit stop now. And he's still 3 seconds ahead of PK now in front of him. But let's actually take a look here at John Nielsen. He'll be coming up to the back of Mika Hakkinen. Obviously, that will have him lose quite a bit of time here, being stuck behind Hakkinen, who still has to pit, of course. That Zach speed definitely not looking shabby. They're also looking really fast here today. But obviously, John Nielsen will have to carry the weight now for the Zach Speed team, as his teammate has dropped out. But so far, not been able to get past Hakkinen, maybe down... oh, and again, Hakkinen, was he maybe just getting out of the way for the cars behind? That could also... reason why he made that little mistake there. In the meanwhile, we have Alan Sir Jr. with a mistake there. He locked up, and Ayrton Senna wasn't waiting around. He took advantage of that right away to get past that slower car that hasn't pit yet, and that is very positive for Ayrton Senna, as he will have well, not some clear air to work with, but that's one car out of the way. He needs to get past Bobby Rahal here, who will come into the pit. So now Senna has some good clear air, comes up behind his teammate, who hopefully shouldn't make it too hard for him, as PK comes out of the pits there. Now interesting to see here as Martin Brundle, he's still very much in clear air, just on his own, turning some laps, and it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. So I do want to follow him around the track for a moment here to see how his pit stop plays out, because it could be that because of these early pit stops he might be able to gain a position or two with some of the drivers being held up. But you do see that big train of cars behind him there. It's just hunting him down, and you want to take a look at the last lap times. About 2 seconds slower than Nelson Piquet behind him last time around. Let's see here as Martin Brundle comes into the Goodyear tunnel. He'll have to navigate the Ford corner, and then he will be going into the pits. So yeah, very much a chicane, the Ford corner. Comes into the pits here, and let's see where he comes out. Quite a short pit lane. Into the pits he is. Fresh set of tires on. Oh, and actually got held there. Got held by the Tyrrell. That's unfortunate, but he will come out ahead of Michael Andretti, just about. So Martin Brundle still in P7 now. So very well here inside the points, and should be able to pull away from Michael Andretti as he has the fresher tires, I imagine. But we'll see about that. Meanwhile, Nelson Piquet. Oh, and Alain Prost here, also with a little bit of a mistake. Tapping the barrier there and letting Ross Cheever past. In the background, we can see a lot of jostling there. Jeff Lee's trying to hold up Riccardo Patrese, maybe trying to help his teammate out here, because Lee still has to pit and will be the last car to pit from the entire grid. And he seems to be just trying to hold up that Ligier behind him and that BMW, so his teammate can create a little bit of a gap, which he is successfully doing. Meanwhile, Alain Prost, 6th place, trying to get onto the back of Ross Cheever once again. But Prost also in the points, and I think for Pedro Diaz, it should also... Well, it's probably his priority to just get the cars to the end and hopefully score some points along with it. That's the most important part for McLaren right now. We're on board with Piquet again. Meanwhile, Ayrton Senna also very much in a position to perhaps pick up a podium here today. So that would be very nice after his win last time around in Canada. And Maurizio Gugelmin now up into P15, so actually a very decent recovery already, and he's right onto the back of that Eurobrun. Eurobrun looking a bit off pace here today as well. Seems like the track doesn't really suit the characteristics of the orange Jägermeister machine. So Gugelmin not finding a way past yet, and I think he'll be trying to clear that traffic as fast as he can, because at this point he's just losing time, of course. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi, with Lammers out of the way, he's 25 seconds ahead now of the entirety of the grid. And actually, he's getting very close to Pierluigi Martini, so he'll be lapping him in a couple of laps here. But yeah, Fittipaldi just insanely fast here today. Ayrton Senna now in third with John Nielsen behind him. The Lotus fighting against the Zach Speed. So Zach Speed got off to a really good first 2 rounds with 2 victories in those. But now, as Dalmas goes into the barrier there, doesn't pick up any damage, I don't think. But Jeff Lees goes through now. Yeah, the Zach Speed's picking up 20 points in the first 2 rounds and looking really promising. But since had some DNFs, something to note as well, every time they did finish the race, they've always scored points, so definitely a very competitive car. Same with Lotus and Ferrari. They've always scored points whenever they got the car to the finish as well. And yeah, seemingly Dalmas struggling, as there was some shakiness and a bit of a lockup in the Ford corner, I think it was, or no, it was at the Goodyear tunnel, I believe. And Gugelmin actually now comes in for a second pit, so yeah, does still have to come in for that pit stop, which is a shame for him. So he still has to make up that extra pit stop in time. But he will have a lot fresher tires now, like 3 or so laps fresher, and even 5 or 6 laps fresher than some of the drivers. So yeah, it's expected that he will have to make an extra pit stop just because he had to go into the pit so early, but should have that fresh rubber to help him along and gain some positions that way. So we'll keep an eye on where he ends up. John Nielsen in third, though, going through the tunnel. And Ayrton Senna hunting him down, or trying to at least. You can see the backdrop of Detroit there. Some of the yachts in the river. Senna obviously will be trying to get another good result here as he comes off of that win in Canada. He's just wants to probably string together a couple of results as well, because he's had 2 DNFs in the first 2 rounds, then a 3rd place, then another DNF, and then a win. So definitely gaining some momentum here, the Brazilian. And of course, he will probably still be thinking about last year when, well, he was hinted to be one of the top contenders for the title, but ultimately just fell short because of the reliability issues that Lotus had. So we're hoping that this year we don't see that again. So Nielsen still in 3rd place, trying to hold down the fort. Doesn't seem to be much faster than Ayrton Senna. Maybe Ayrton Senna is even catching him. Let's check here what the last lap times are. So Nielsen with a 36.0, Senna with a 36.5. Okay, so half a second in it, and well, everyone much slower than Fittipaldi, that is for sure. So far, everyone still running pretty good here. I expected a lot more retirements by now. John Nielsen still just managing that Zach speed. He does see Nelson Piquet in the distance as we head through the main streets here, through the row of skyscrapers. Nelson Piquet here with that Ilmore Haas package. His teammate obviously dropping out already with some sort of engine issue, so I assume Piquet is perhaps a bit worried about that now. So will be team manager Rackster. So far, 21 laps in for Piquet and still running fine and solidly in that P2 as John Nielsen tries to close the gap. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi now actually coming up to the back of Pierluigi Martini. So, yeah, big discrepancy in pace, of course. And let's see if Fittipaldi is able to maneuver his way around the slower Minardi in front of him without any hiccups. And it seems that the Brazilian is very keen on making it 2 in a row for Ferrari this season. Obviously, it's going to be very tough to do so, as there's quite a bit of contenders also this season. We have Benetton being a bit of a dark horse. We have Lotus in there, definitely fighting for that constructor's title so far. Zach Speed, who really came out of nowhere with that Honda engine deal. So we now see Jeff Lee's more issues for him, as he's down in 15th, but he will have to come into the pit surely as he goes through the Goodyear tunnel. Just has to navigate himself around the Ford corner, or well, I'd like it to call it the Ford chicane a bit more, but does come into the pits, and they will try to resolve that issue as fast as they possibly can. Fittipaldi obviously now getting past Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi. In the meanwhile, we have Gugelmin getting up to the back of the pack now and is on the rear of Eddie Lawson. So we'll just follow him around for a moment. And actually, let's go a bit further up, as I think Michael Andretti and Riccardo Patrese are also duking it out for that last point scoring position, P8. Similarly, I think Prost now has, after his little mistake, caught up to the back of Ross Cheever. So Prost trying to get back past up into P5. Let's just follow them around for one more lap. I'm keen to see if Prost can try a move maybe down onto the back straight or something like that. Meanwhile, Martin Brundle still in 7th place for Williams. So again, looking very good here, and with the nearest competitor in from BMW, Bobby Rahal, being in 10th. He's looking good to close the gap to them now. If he'd score 2 points with that 7th place, they'd only be 1 point behind BMW, so that'd be a very positive result. And here comes Alain Prost now on the back of Ross Cheever. I don't think he's quite close enough. No, he isn't, so that move will have to wait. Now we have Patrese here onto the back of Michael Andretti. Then comes Bobby Rahal. Then Alan Sir Jr. Mas here, Eddie Lawson, Maurizio Gugelmin. See if Gugelmin can perhaps try something as he's trying to navigate his way through the traffic. And, well, if anything, that Ferrari should have the superior power on that Eurobrun in front of him, but obviously Lawson also getting a nice tow from Yannick Dalmas in front, so that's a bit of a difficulty there for Gugelmin to figure that out and how to get past. So heading to the Ford corner, I actually thought Gugelmin was looking at making a move there. He definitely thought about it. Head down to start finish straight. Seems pretty close, but not close enough. Eddie Lawson getting good enough exits that he can stay ahead of that Ferrari. See here, Gugelmin, no, still not close enough. They now head through Chrysler Drive, which is turn 6, I believe. They'll head to the left-hander, turn 7, into a 90-degree right-hander, then onto the back straight, which is probably the best overtaking possibility here. And let's see now, does Gugelmin get a run? Oh, he was so close, but Lawson going slightly defensive there and still keeping him behind. Meanwhile, John Nielsen in 3rd. And now Martin Brundle in the Williams getting another call for the pits. So does Michael Andretti. And now Martin Brundle possibly trying to undercut Alain Prost and Ross Cheever ahead of him. So that might be a good call here. And oh! Here we go again, I think. Emerson Fittipaldi, smoke coming out of the back of that Ferrari, and reliability seems to be an issue for Ferrari here this season, as they had 2 double DNFs in the past 2 rounds, and now about halfway through the race, not even, Fittipaldi is surely gonna retire here. And yeah, now there's fire coming out of the back of the Ferrari. But yeah, Fittipaldi will have to look at pulling over the car here at some point. That's gonna once again mean that Nelson Piquet is gonna inherit the lead. And Fittipaldi's still going, but I'm sure at this point he's aware of the engine. Yeah, and there goes the engine completely. He will pull over now. And let's see if some of the cars can navigate past. Yes, they can. Marshall should be able to perhaps clear out the car here. See how that looks for Piquet as he comes by. Or have they cleared up that Ferrari already? Yes, it does seem so. But yes, once again, Nelson Piquet will inherit the lead. And well, it's Ferrari again, not being the luckiest of teams, as Martin Brundle has now made that pit, so we'll keep an eye. He was in 7th. We'll keep an eye on where he comes out once everyone does their pit stops, but that is the 4th casualty of this race, being Emerson Fittipaldi and Ferrari. Min now close, but not close enough. Has now kind of isolated Eddie Lawson, so that might be a good call here. And see now as we follow them around, I don't think Eddie Lawson might have lost the slipstream. So as we get through the right-hander here, we might see Gugelmin speeding past now that Eurobrun doesn't have any assistance from the car ahead. Full city inside, can he pull it off? No, Lawson again holds on. Gugelmin not brave enough on the brakes. Alain Prost now coming in as well. He's in the pits, 5.5 seconds. That seems like a very reasonable pit stop. And we'll see now. Ooh, Martin Brundle only just coming out behind him. But I do have a bit of an inkling here that Brundle is going to be able to undercut Ross Cheever, because he still hasn't been able, hasn't gotten his pit call. So Brundle might still pick up a position here once all the pits are said and done. That'd be pretty good for Williams. And now Nelson Piquet leading this race, has John Nielsen behind him. Of course, both of them still have to pit, so we might see Ayrton Senna inherit the lead if he can put enough pace in to make up a bit of a deficit. Not quite sure what the pit delta is here. And Ross Cheever in 3rd, also still has to pit, of course. And again, I'm very interested to see how close it'll be with Martin Brundle. Alain Prost now behind Roberto Moreno. Moreno now coming into the pits as well. So does Al Unser Jr. Pierluigi Martini is gonna come in, and Nelson Piquet also getting his pit call. So that only leaves a couple more cars to come in, being Nielsen, Cheever, and Patrese and Rahal. So 4 more cars then to come in. And Cheever leaving it quite late now. He might be undercut here quite a bit by Martin Brundle. And I do want to see if we can compare the laps. So Brundle doing a 36.4, while Cheever is doing a 37. Yeah, so about half a second loss for Cheever in that last lap. And Brundle good on his way to try and get that undercut done. Obviously, Cheever will be on fresher tires, but we'll see now as he comes in, and Nielsen still electing to stay out as Nakajima running into the wall there, losing a position to Mika Hakkinen. And Brundle now behind Alain Prost. So Brundle actually putting in some good pace. He's keeping up with Prost, it seems. And now Ross Cheever does get his pit call, and meanwhile Ayrton Senna putting in the first 1 minute 34 second lap in this race. He just put up the fastest lap, so Senna really flying at this point. And he's gained quite a bit of time to Nielsen and Piquet ahead of him. Oh, and there is another collision, I think. Oh yeah, big collision between Martini and John Nielsen, the leader of the race. Oh, so Nielsen is in trouble here. He's stuck in a crucial part of the track, and he'll have to wait now as traffic comes through. So he's just patiently waiting for some cars to come through and taking a moment where he has to back up. He has to be careful in doing so. Oh, and now Martin Brundle. As he comes past, he has an issue. Martin Brundle with a puncture, it seems like, and he's gonna come to a stop. So it's all kicking off now at about the halfway mark, but Martin Brundle with an abrupt end to his race. And he was going so well. And that's unfortunately another retirement for Williams. And yeah, they've really had issues. Have had issues finishing races so far this season. But at least they're showing good pace. Meanwhile now, I just want to keep an eye here. John Nielsen has gotten going again. But is down in 11th place now, so the sack speed also dropping down. And this is wonderful news for Piquet and Ayrton Senna and Prost, because they've all been able to take advantage of that. And now Nielsen, to add insult to injury, he still has to make that second pit stop. So this has been a bit of a disaster race for John Nielsen. Was comfortably in the lead, but we know here at Detroit it's such a treacherous track, and Nielsen will obviously have no experience with it, as he's not raced in F1 before, so must have been caught out by a bump here or there, or some bad piece of track, which made him spin in those tight corners there. And now Nielsen will be on a recovery road trying to get back to the front. But in the meanwhile, with all the pits done, that does mean that now Nelson Piquet once again is in the lead and could be looking at a 3rd win on the season. And 3 wins in 6 rounds. That would be pretty incredible. But obviously still a long race to go. Still more than half of the race actually. But so far it is Nelson Piquet in 1st. Then Ayrton Senna for Lotus in 2nd. Then comes Alain Prost in the McLaren. Then there is Ross Cheever in P4 for Minardi. Michael Andretti in P5 for Tyrrell. Riccardo Patrese, as I was saying, not really looking like a point scoring car this year, even though they've scored 13 of them. They haven't looked quite up the pace, but as you can see, Patrese again in the points now because of the attrition of others. Bobby Rahal now also with a good shot to score some points now that the Williams has dropped out. And then Al Unser Jr. in 8th place, so both of the Tyrrells in the points as well, which I'm sure Domi will be glad to see. And then just outside the points will be Roberto Moreno. Then in 10th will be Mika Hakkinen. Finnish driver also not doing too shabby. Gugelmin now has made it up back into P11 and is hunting down Mika Hakkinen in front of him. And let's compare some lap times here. So Gugelmin putting in a 35.7 last lap is definitely faster than Hakkinen and Moreno in front, but he's gonna have to put an effort in to catch the cars in front of him, or in front of Moreno and Hakkinen, that is for sure, as they're all going pretty well and have some pretty good pace. Like we said, it's just a case of sometimes it's just a case of track position being king, especially at a track like Detroit. It is quite detrimental to have an accident or some sort of issue early on, which causes you to, well, being held up by the traffic once you do manage to catch up to them. And now Hakkinen actually looks like he might have an issue here as he's going slow. He's going very conservative into some of these corners, so definitely having an issue. Very slowly, and we will see Gugelmin catching up in no time now. I'm wondering if Hakkinen can nurture that car to the pits, get that issue resolved. But yeah, that second Ligier not running too well. You can see, I think Gugelmin, yeah, right onto the back of him. So here comes Gugelmin. Won't be a hard pass. Goes straight through. There will be Jeff Lees coming up to the back of Hakkinen here as well, who will quite easily pass probably. So here comes Lees, the one remaining Williams in the race. And yeah, what a season for Williams. They're definitely looking a lot faster, but still struggling with that reliability. So I think they'll have to strike a balance in performance and reliability. As it gets actually a little bit blocked there by Mika Hakkinen. Hakkinen now pulling into the pits, so does make it to the pits. And Jeff Lees now up into 11th. Meanwhile, we have Nelson Piquet in the lead still and is pulling away from Ayrton Senna behind him. And obviously, cars will be pitting a bit later now. Every time they pit, they're gonna be on a lower fuel load, so they should be able to run quite a bit longer on each set of tires they go on to. Meanwhile, Alain Prost now has about a 5-second gap to Ross Cheever behind him, so he's driving a comfortable race now. Should just try to get his car till the end of the race, pick up another nice haul of points. Would be another 6 points added on for McLaren, which could be crucial down the line. And well, now with Ferrari being outside the points with that one retirement from Fittipaldi and Gugelmin being outside of the points, McLaren could catch up to Ferrari by quite a bit here. Ferrari on 27 points at the moment, McLaren on 16. which would obviously bring them to 22 after this race if the race finishes like it is, which is obviously no guarantee. Meanwhile, PK still navigating his way through the streets of Detroit. And, well, looking pretty handy at it. And that Benetton has really come to life. Obviously, we know Leto not having the best of fortunes, and it's no guarantee for PK that he'll finish this race, but obviously by now his team would have told him about Leto and his engine, and maybe PK is now managing the car a bit more, or managing the engine a bit more. But we will have to wait and see if he makes it till the end. Meanwhile, Jeff Lees all on his own in P11, just outside of that top 10. And now, as we say that, I've really had a bit of the commentator's curse here today. I can't believe it. But, oh. Nelson PK now struggling with some sort of issue, going slowly. And he is, he's heading down, has still, well, not quite half the lap to go, but, he's, well, just about half the lap, actually. So he's on the back straight, and you can see there Ayrton Senna in the distance. So Nelson PK with that issue, and he's going very slowly. And he will have to come into pit, so he will lose the lead to Ayrton Senna, that is for sure. And now it's Satoru Nakajima is dropping out with a puncture. So again, this track being very abrasive to everyone's cars, and you can see that everyone is starting to have issues. And Senna there inheriting the lead from Nelson PK, who is trying to get that car back to the pits, and he does come through the Ford corner here and does come into the pits, but that will probably see him come out in... Ooh, it's gonna be close. He might even end up behind Michael Andretti and Patrese and such. Will have a fresh set of tires, so he will be quite fast, but obviously has to make that extra pit stop. He will surely have to make another pit stop here. There is Ross Cheever. Let's see, Michael Andretti and the like coming through the corners. Does PK? Yes, PK comes out in P4, so looking very decent. We'll have a nice fresh set of tires, and he will be trying to catch up to Ross Cheever ahead of him. We'll keep the camera on PK here for a little bit. Actually, I'll put it on the automatic camera, and I'm gonna go get a drink, and oh no! Now disaster striking for Maurizio Gugelmin. And the second Ferrari is gonna drop out of this race, so... Well, Ferrari a bit of a glass cannon this season. Extremely fast, but obviously struggling with their reliability, as it is, well, 3 rounds in a row. It's been a triple or a double DNF, so that is a bit of a disaster for the Scuderia. And I'm sure Machihila will be trying to look at resolving those issues. The red horse, the prancing horse, is having at the moment, because well, like this, it's going to be a bit of a disaster, isn't it? They're third in the constructors, of course, but the way they're going, this is gonna be a bit of a downfall. So comes to a stop in a bit of an awkward spot there. But yeah, puts Ferrari completely out of the running out. And we'll switch to the automatic camera. That goes to Mika Hakkinen. I do need to get a drink for a second and take a little bit of a break, as my voice seems to be going. But I will be back with you in about 5 or so minutes. If the cameraman does a bad job and switches to a bad camera, it's not my fault. Okay, be right back. Okay, I am back as we are on lap 40. Got my drink, my voice is better. And Ayrton Senna still leading. There is now a bit of a battle here between Ross Cheever and Nelson Piquet, who... Piquet seems to be quite a bit faster, but obviously, like we've said before, it's a tough track to get past the car in front of you. And we will be looking at the back straight here as Piquet might be getting a run here. No, he doesn't. And John Nielsen still all the way down in P11 at this point. And Cheever in his Pepsi minority holding on to third place for now, but it seems quite inevitable that Nelson Piquet gets past here. And then obviously the hunt will be on to Alain Prost. Oh, and Cheever there under pressure makes a mistake, and that allows Nelson Piquet to go through. So a slight tap of the wall there for Cheever, and now Piquet is unleashed to chase down Alain Prost for second place. But in the meanwhile, Ayrton Senna now on a bit of a resurgence, and he might be on his way to a double victory here, mimicking Nelson Piquet, of course. Piquet would still be in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, but Senna would be very close if he... well, he would end up in second place. He'd still be quite a bit of points behind, but it'd be very positive for Lotus as they would move into the first place in the Constructors' Championship. So it would be a very big surprise, and well, the way this has now shifted around with the Sack Speeds having issues, the Ferraris having issues, it has really turned the championship upside down. And obviously they still need to get to the end of this race, but regardless, the outcome is going to be very much a surprise. So now we can see Piquet, as he's in clean air, we'll kind of see what kind of lap times he can do. Let's take a look at the last lap times. So Piquet, yeah, putting in a 34.5, which is almost a second faster than Prost, and also 0.8 faster than Ayrton Senna. So Piquet is definitely not out of this race yet. He is still in a position to pick up the victory here today. It will require a tremendous amount of effort, but he's definitely able to do it. And well, should Piquet come out victorious here today, it would move Benetton up into the third spot of the Constructors' Championship, and it would further solidify Nelson Piquet's Driver Championship lead. So we'll see here, but yeah, definitely a bit of surprise here, Benetton, with how good they are doing. And obviously a very recognizable brand as well, Benetton. Always have a very special livery. Obviously was kind of the four checkered car last year, with the 4 different Benetton colors streaked all over the car, or well, divided up in a checker pattern. And now they've gone for the logo stripes on top of their car as one big livery. Nelson Piquet now onto the back of Pierluigi Martini, who moves along or out of the way. Martini's still running, of course, in 5th. He is a lap down, but he's still running fine, and is going to be lapped by his teammate fairly soon here. With 20 laps to go now, Ayrton Senna still leads this race, and Nelson Piquet is hunting down the Frenchman Alain Prost for McLaren. And we can see now Jeff Lees with a pit call. Let's see. Yeah, he still has That's quite a way to go, but he is also looking at getting a fresh set of tires on and go until the end. I'm intrigued to see if he can get any closer to Roberto Moreno or Alonso Jr. in front of him, but it'll require some amazing effort to close that gap. But a top 10 wouldn't be too bad for the Williams, as John Nielsen still hasn't managed to get past Jeff Lee, so just see now, is he gonna manage here? No, he isn't. So yeah, the Zach Speeds really dropped the ball here a bit today, with obviously Lammers can't really do anything about the failure he had, but John Nielsen was in a position to easily win this race. But like we said, just maybe lacking a bit of experience with the track, and one little mistake can, well, end your race already. So Nielsen is lucky, of course, to not be out of the race, but Jeff Lees will now come into the pit for his last pit stop. And he is the first to come in from the entire grid. See how long this takes for the Williams. 4.6 seconds, that is actually really fast. So he comes out ahead of Yannick Dalmas and that little train with Eddie Lawson and Mika Hakkinen. And yeah, Leafs back underway. I'll take a look back at Anna Prost, who is well, about 3 seconds ahead still of PK. So you'd wonder now if Prost, yeah, like that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was wondering if Prost would elect to pit here at any lap, not allow PK to pass him on track, and that way getting on that fresh set of tires and hopefully extending that gap to PK while he can, as the PK does seem to have the pace over him. And with this now, maybe Prost has a chance to hang on to this position, so strategy will be key, and we'll see how that plays out towards the end. But I think ideally for Prost, he'd want PK to wait for another 3 or so laps at least to pit, to get a maximum advantage out of those fresh tires. But regardless, even if PK does end up overtaking Prost, he'll still have a nice podium position. And like we said before, it's just key for McLaren to start scoring some consistent points at this point in time. Obviously, the season still a long way to go. And another thing I wanted to talk about is that, well, there has been speculation, but it does seem like the Detroit Grand Prix is going to be replaced for next season. Well, the organization from F1 just hasn't seen the potential in it. It has been ran for quite a bit of time now, and well, there's always been issues. Has it been, if it's not been the track surface, it's been just a general attrition. As we actually say that Yannick Dalmas has an issue, so he's going to come to a stop, and the Eurobrun and the Ligier getting past there, but Dalmas out of this race with an engine issue as well. So yeah, lots of issues with this track. Also regarding to safety, there's a lot of concerns. So it seems like we are looking at selecting different tracks, and actually it seems like the managers will have a say in what tracks are replaced for next season. So that is something to look forward to. Another one of the tracks rumored for being replaced is the Argentinian Grand Prix with in Jacarapagua. So that is one that might be replaced. So the first race of the season. The rumor is for Jacarepagua, that it will be replaced by the renovated Carlos Pache Grand Prix circuit. But we will have to see. I'm sure the managers will have a say in it, and we're thinking about replacing 3 or 4 tracks, and we'll probably have a little bit of a vote to see what the managers would like to see in the game, and I'm sure that'll add another exciting element for 1990. But obviously we still have 89 to get through. We're only in round 6 here, so plenty of time for the championship to play out. And Senna still leading comfortably. Alain Prost now has made his pit stop. He's out in clean air, so this early pit here might play out in his advantage. As PK still has to pit here, so not too much time left. As there's about 16 laps remaining. Ross Cheever is gonna also come into the pits. So will Bobby Rahal for BMW. He's looking to undercut Michael Andretti, because he's been stuck behind Andretti for quite a bit of laps now, so Ross Cheever is now in. Ayrton Senna is being called in for his pit stop. And Prost comes across the line. Let's see what kind of lap times he is doing. 33.7, so yeah, a lot faster there. Nearly a second faster than PK, so at this point he's just gaining time. And actually, as Senna got his call to come into the pits, there's an engine issue, and he also has smoke coming out of the back, which does mean that that PK... Well, actually, no, I think Prost would be in the net lead then, because PK still has to make that pit stop, I believe. Because he came in for that electrical issue, so I'm sure PK still has to make an extra pit stop. And that would put Alain Prost in the lead. So is it actually Alain Prost that is heading towards his first victory of the season in a very surprising fashion? But yeah, unfortunately Ayrton Senna there in an ideal position isn't gonna make it 2 in a row. And again shows that the Lotus team still has some work to do in regards to their reliability. Meanwhile now Michael Andretti also coming into the pits. Roberto Moreno now on screen still has to make a pit stop, so he will drop outside of the points once he does. But yeah, I'm curious to see when PK decides to pit. But Alain Prost now gaining time, and heaps of time. This is last lap, again 1.2 seconds faster, so Prost really taking advantage now, and he's really putting in the work. And even if PK doesn't decide to pit, he'll only get slower throughout the stint, and Prost will be able to catch him by the end, I am pretty sure. We'll keep an eye on here. 12.9 seconds behind, 12.8 seconds. We'll see how much that subsides, that gap, once Prost comes over the line. That's going to be about not even half a lap, 1/3 of a lap once he comes across the line, so we'll see. We'll see how much time he has gained as he is gonna come across the finish line here. Let's see, through the chicane. Now as he comes across the line, how far is he behind? 12.4, so that's nearly, well, that's about 4/10 in a third of the lap, so yeah. Let's see what the last lap was. Oh, last time for Alain Prost is a 33.9 and a 34.7 for PK. So about 7/10 faster, or 8/10 faster for Alain Prost that lap. Meanwhile though, Riccardo Patrese in third. So the Ligier, even though they weren't looking at anywhere near the points at the start of this race, Patrese is now in a podium position, apparently. Meanwhile, his teammate Hakkinen in 12th. So Ross Cheever in 4th now, also very lofty for the Minardi. 5th will be Bobby Rahal. That would be... Oh, actually, Bobby Rahal has overtaken Michael Andretti with that undercut. So Bobby Rahal up into 5th position, which would, of course, also be a very good finishing position for the BMW, as they've been struggling the past few races to get some points. So be good to see them get some more. And now Michael Andretti and Alonso Jr. are trying to get past that BMW, but both the Tyrrells looking good here today, looking very solid. They're not breaking records by any means, but the fact that the two cars are running as long as they are, and they're both really close together, says a lot about that platform, I think. And looks like a very drivable car, looks like a very sleek car, that Tyrrell. So you will now see as PK has gotten his pit call, but Alain Prost again only 11 seconds behind him now, so I think he's gonna have undercut him by quite a big margin here. And I wouldn't be surprised to see PK 10 or even more seconds behind Prost once he does come in. And we'll see now as well if he comes out ahead of Riccardo Patrese, as I will take a look at what his last lap time was. So yeah, even Patrese is going faster, and so is Ross Cheever and Bobby Rahal. So Nelson Piquet really eking out those tires. He will be really fast for the remainder of the Grand Prix, but the question being, of course, can he actually make the overtake? That is always the biggest question here around Detroit. Let's see how fast this pit stop is. Only tires, of course. Oh, that's a pretty slow pit stop compared to some of the cars. As you can see, Prost there in the background, and he will have quite a sizable margin now to PK. But PK on those fresh tires now is gonna push right until the end of the race, trying to get to that McLaren in front of him. And we'll see as he comes across the first timing line here in a moment. We'll see how much time exactly he has to make up. He does come out ahead of Patrese, so he's within 20 seconds at least. Oh, and apparently only 6 seconds behind, so PK is still very much on for the win. I thought the gap would be bigger. But obviously Prost doing a good job with the undercut. And he was in P2, but now obviously has inherited that lead. And it's a good call, to be honest, by McLaren. It's I think they recognize this is probably the only chance they're gonna get at a race victory here so far in the season. And track position is very important here, so as long as Prost can hold on to his position and just defend like a lion when he has to, he might be able to hold off Nelson Piquet until the end of the race. But we'll see now how much Piquet will gain as he will come across the line here. Let's see how much time he's made up. So only 2/10. So actually, PK might not be as fast as I think he is. And Prost obviously showing me that he very much deserves to be in the lead. 10 laps to go now. Riccardo Patrese still managing very well here. Of course, has to keep the pace up. He has Ross Cheever in the minority behind him. Ooh, and a big lock up there by Eddie Lawson. Does manage to avoid the barriers, but big lock up there for the Eurobrun of Eddie Lawson. And Satoru Nakajima, his teammate, of course, retiring. But the Eurobrun just hasn't looked that competitive here this race. They looked really good last time around, both scoring points in Canada, so definitely a track that suits them a bit more. But so far here in Detroit, they haven't really had any success. And now we have Jeff Lee still holding off John Nielsen behind him. And Jeff will be trying to get back to Roberto Moreno and Alonso in front. Let's see how their lap times compare. So Jeff Lee is doing a 35.8. Yeah, he has no chance of no chance of getting up to Moreno or Alonso Jr. So he will be waiting for a retirement. He is trying to hold off John Nielsen though, but in the meanwhile, Nelson Piquet putting in a new fastest lap, I think, with a 33.2. So actually, last time around, about nearly a second faster than Alain Prost. So the race is definitely not over. It ebbs and sways, as you can see there in the background. You can see just about Alain Prost and Piquet determined to catch the McLaren, as there's a bit of a lock up there from, I think that was a Ligier. But yeah, Piquet gaining lots of time now. Again, I think 6/10 gained there before we even get to the start-finish straight. So in a lap or 3 or 4, he will be within striking range, I think, of Alain Prost. So it will be a little bit of a late battle here for the win, probably. But regardless of what happens, Prost is going to be very happy. Obviously, he'll try to hold on to that win. But with the pace Piquet is putting up, it's going to be very difficult. But I don't know. Pedro Diaz will be elated regardless, I think, if Prost manages to finish up onto the podium. And obviously, as we know, both Pedro Diaz and Machihila have a standing rivalry, McLaren versus Ferrari. And this will be another nice opportunity for Pedro to smack talk Machihila. But obviously Prost still has to finish, so let's not jinx it. I'm not gonna say Prost is finishing or anything. He's just looking good right now. But Piquet, very fast now, and still has quite a bit of margin. He's actually already getting close to striking distance, and there's still 8 or so laps to go. But yeah, that Benetton looking extremely fast, and Piquet is looking at a 3rd victory here, even though it didn't seem that way halfway through the race. He is now really pushing. Meanwhile, let's also take a look here. Bobby Rahal has now been caught by Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr., so they will both be looking to try and get past that BMW. If the Tyrrells would be able to get into 5th and 6th, that would be a really nice achievement. And we'll keep an eye on that one as well. Obviously, we do also want to see here, because Al Unser Jr., that's not too close, but John Nielsen, I'm surprised. Oh, and a bit of a mistake there. But Jeff Lees makes a mistake, and finally, John Nielsen has some clear air, but it's gonna be, well, it's surely gonna be too late for him to get up to the back of Moreno. But you can see now that he's gotten clear, he is pulling a big gap already in just two corners. He's almost a second ahead already. So Jeff Lee's putting up a remarkable defense, but obviously in the end the Zach Speed just a far superior car. And John Nielsen is now unleashed, and we'll keep an eye on him the next couple of laps, but 9 seconds is gonna be a big barrier to overcome to try and get back into the points. If so, it would have been an incredible recovery drive for the Zach Speed. Michael Andretti still trying to get closer to Ray Hall as they're trading mistakes, I think. But now Nelson Piquet in the hunt and right onto the back of Alain Prost as they now go down the back straight. There's some back markers ahead in form of Pierluigi Martini and Mika Hakkinen, so let's hope they don't cause too much issues. See now Prost desperately trying to hold on in the McLaren here. Needs to focus on getting past those back markers. Maybe they'll be able to create a little bit of distance between him and Piquet. As they now head through the last chicane and down the start-finish straight. See now, because I do think the back markers are gonna probably move out of the way here soon, but PK will also be looking to take advantage of an opportunity if it arises. It's a bit of a strange limbo now as well, because we have those two back markers fighting each other. And they're not obliged to let the leaders through, so we'll see here how that goes. But PK is getting very close to that gearbox. Now Prost, can he get close enough? No, not quite. So a little bit of a train starting to form here. Oh, and a bit of a lock up there by Hakkinen, I think that was, and Piquet was actually looking to get past Prost there. That would have been a very optimistic dive up the inside. And now Prost does get past. Does Piquet get past as well? No, he does get held up a little bit. So Prost with a bit of respite as Piquet struggles to get past Hakkinen in a tough spot of the circuit. So now Prost is gonna look at getting past Eddie Lawson, and needs to do so sooner rather than later, and then hope that Lawson gets in the way for Piquet a little bit. That being said, I might think that Prost, if he can get close enough, he might be able to do it down the back straight, which would be ideal, of course. Alain Prost looking at a victory. It is right within his grasp. Let's see now, on to the back straight. Eddie Lawson won't move just yet. I seem to feel that Prost has to get a bit closer. Now PK trying to get past as well. Prost doing a good job keeping some distance, but PK is really pushing. And Prost now will get past once again in the same spot. And Lawson now does speed up once again, but PK will again send it up the inside and get past Lawson through that little chicane complex. And now PK is on the hunt. And Prost still leads with 3 laps to go. Or 4 laps to go if we start from lap 60, I guess. Prost doing a good job so far. The biggest question mark, of course, as I think PK made a little bit of a mistake there, will be down the back straight if that McLaren can hold on compared to the Benetton with slipstream. But actually now Alain Prost managed to create a little bit of a gap there from that mistake from PK, I think. And now 13 cars still running, so actually the attrition not too bad. PK is still trying and will still stay on board. Riccardo Patrese still in 3rd, and let's keep comparing the lap times here. As Patrese doing a 34.4, 34.5 for Raj Cheever, and then we have the 2 Tyrrells that are behind Bobby Rahal, but Bobby Rahal is doing a good job of keeping distance to them, so Bobby Rahal on for a good result. And now it does seem that the tires are kind of equaling out now for the McLaren and the Benetton, so Prost just has 3 more laps to do it here. 3 more laps to hold on. And he's doing an incredible job so far, and I'm sure Pedro Diaz is full of anticipation in his chair. He's really watching the race. Finally looking at success within his grasp. All Prost has to do is bring it home at this point. I think he has enough pace to keep PK behind. Down into the Kodak camera corner, and then we head into the tunnel. PK is getting fairly close now. About 6/10 between the two. They head through the first chicane, the Ford corner, and then into turn 18. Not really a name, just a chicane before the start-finish straight. And it's a might be a photo finish here. Less than half a second between the two, as Alain Prost has started the penultimate lap of the Detroit Grand Prix. Now Bobby Rahal with an electrical issue for Bobby Rahal, so he might have to come into the pits and he'll lose all of those positions right at the end of the race here. And it will move probably... Oh, he's actually out. Bobby Rahal is out. He doesn't even make it to the pits. So that's a very late retirement for the American, and very unfortunate for BMW, as that was a good opportunity for point scoring, as Prost is now on the straight, goes slightly defensive, but PK isn't close enough. Shouldn't be able to do anything in this section. But Prost is looking good here. Now, we're in the third sector, again that downhill corner with the big camera peeking through the wall, and they head through the tunnel. Second to last time, and then Prost will head into the fourth corner. Navigates his way perfectly through there. It will be full concentration mode through the chicane. And now Alain Prost starts the last lap of round 6, the Detroit Grand Prix, with Nelson Piquet breathing down his neck. They go into turn 1 and then down Atwater Street. They'll head into turn 2, the right-hander, 90 degrees, with a short run up the hill into turn 3. And a slight bend to the left, which is turn 4, into a left-hander, which is Chrysler Drive. Then we have a short, almost a straight, but not quite, into turn 7. And then the last chance, probably, of the race here, after the right-hander. The last chance Piquet has to make a move here, down the straightaway. Does Piquet offer anything? No, I don't think so. Prost holds on down the back straight. Only a couple more corners for him to navigate as they go through turn 11 now. Two left-handers in turn 11 into turn 12. Then down the hill, turn 13, Kodak camera corner, into 14 and 15. And through the tunnel, as Roberto Moreno has an oil leak, through the tunnel goes Alain Prost down to the Ford corner. And one more corner to navigate the chicane with the tire bundles. And for round 6, Alain Prost and McLaren is gonna get a victory here this season. Alain Prost with an incredible drive, and Nelson Piquet in second. Well done for them, and actually very much a surprise, Riccardo Patrese in third, with Ross Cheever for Minardi ending fourth. Also a very good result. Michael Andretti now in P5, with his teammate Alan Sir Jr. not too far behind, so it's going to be a double point finish for Tyrrell here, 5th and 6th. And with that late retirement of Moreno, it does mean now that John Nielsen is going to end up in 7th for Zach Speed, but it's going to be a bit of a detrimental race here for Zach Speed, and let's hope they can get their act together for round 7, because that is a big points loss for them. And in the end, Jeff Lees is going to pick up a point, so Williams in the points again. And Jeff Lees does manage to do so. And it does mean now, I think, yeah, so Roberto Moreno did still finish in P9 because the other cars were a lap behind. So P9, Roberto Moreno, then Mika Hakkinen, then Eddie Lawson. But the big winner here, of course, Alain Prost for McLaren. Incredible job. He's taken the fight here with McLaren, with an underperforming McLaren. He's taken the fight to everyone and finishes up in first. So the full result here, Alain Prost with his first victory of the season, which he'll be delighted with, and obviously Pedro Diaz will also be delighted with. Then comes Nelson Piquet in the Benetton. So once again, Piquet still extending that gap in the Drivers' Championship, because he'll move to 29 points over, I think the closest driver will probably be, well, it's actually probably going to be Alain Prost, I imagine. He's going to be in second place probably. So yeah, Prost doing really good. Piquet in second, then Patrese for Ligier with a really good result, with a podium position even. So that will be a nice points haul for them. Ross Cheever in fourth for Minardi, also very respectable. The Tyrrells with a double finish in fifth and sixth, both point scoring positions. Very nicely done. The Zach Speed with a recovery drive into seventh. Jeff Lees in the Williams manages to pick up a point here. Very important for Williams, of course. Roberto Moreno with that late retirement, or league, I believe. Then Mika Hakkinen and Eddie Lawson both a lap down. Not really in the fight here today. Bobby Rahal with a retirement. Then Pierluigi Martini also with a retirement. I don't quite remember what both of their issues were. Ayrton Senna, unfortunately, from the lead of the race, retired with an engine failure. Then Yannick Dalmas, Maurizio Gugelmin at some point also being in the lead. Also an engine failure. Satoru Nakajima for Eurobrun with a puncture. Martin Brundle in 18th with a puncture. He was looking at a very good point scoring position at one point. Emerson Fittipaldi, after being dominant for the first quarter of the race and really stretching out a massive lead, the Ferrari engine just couldn't keep up and might have had to drive a bit more conservatively to get it across the line. And then Jan Lammers, obviously, with that early retirement as well. JJ Leto, unfortunately, the rookie for Benetton with an engine issue. And then Theo Fabi for BMW with that early crash. Yeah, again, that's been a very exciting race. I think at this point we have... I think we have 5 different race winners, if I'm not mistaken. So very exciting. Everything to play for, of course, as these kinds of results really shake up the entire standings. And well, it's been very enjoyable to watch. Very unpredictable, but I did kind of expect that for the Detroit Grand Prix. But next time around, after we get another upgrade round done, we will be heading to Circuit Paul Ricard in France. So French Grand Prix for round 7. Very high speed circuit. And I'm looking forward to the racing there, because that should also be very close with all the slipstream battles. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this race. I hope you guys have as well. And I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.